that experience expectations plus emotion equals a willingness to share. Now let me explain how this works. When companies exceed our expectations, they make us happy. And people are very willing to share great experiences on social media. Do you know why? Because great experiences are still rare. They're surprising to us when we have an amazing, remarkable experience with a brand. So we share it. We say, hey, look what this brand did. Now, when companies only meet our expectations or barely meet, we don't really have any emotion at all. Or if there's any millennials in the audience, this is meh. Okay? And why do we want to share meh? There's no reason to share that. It's not a shareable experience. But when companies miss expectations, they make us sad, or worse, they make us angry. And unfortunately for companies, that creates a very high willingness to share. So what do? We need to make sure that we flood the market with positive experiences so there are more people talking about positive things about our brand than negative things. Or as we used to like to say at McDonald's, you make the lovers louder than the haters. So one of the things that I've started doing over the last few years that I just love, I take out my camera everywhere. I take pictures of everything. And by the way, Vegas is one of the greatest places to do that. And you'll see a couple of Vegas examples while we're here. But one thing I love taking pictures of is signs. Because to me, a sign that is put up at an establishment says a lot about that establishment. Oftentimes, a sign's the first thing you see when you walk into a store or a restaurant. What is the message that that sign is trying to say to you? Here's one of my favorite signs of all time. It's outside of a retailer in Manhattan. Now, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what this retailer sells, but I want to do business with him. He's honest, he's funny, and I think that he's going to be somebody that I want to do business with. But when I walk into a fast food restaurant, also in Manhattan, and this is the very first sign that I see before even the menu boards, does this make me want to come to this restaurant? We cannot provide courtesy cups. The first thing I thought was, you got the word wrong. It's not cannot, it's will not. You have chosen not to provide courtesy cups, right? There's nothing preventing you, but you have decided not to. And why did you do that? My mind went to, well, you probably did that to save a few pennies because people were wasting the cups. Well, where else are you saving pennies? Are those tomatoes in your refrigerator? Have they been sitting a little bit too long? What about that bread? Is that day-old bread? My mind starts going through, hey, maybe they don't pay for soap in the bathroom and the employees' hands are dirty. You start to wonder, like, why does that have to be the first thing that I see when I walk into a restaurant? It certainly doesn't make me feel like I want to eat there. Here's a restaurant you may have heard of that puts a warning sign threatening shoplifting and prosecution for taking one too many refills of your soda. A different sign has 6 different rules around refills. Anyone want to guess? My former employer, McDonald's. And look what happens. Shocking. People see these pictures. Where do you think I found those pictures? Online. And they share them, and they say nasty things, and you get people that are verified on Twitter with a check mark, getting lots of retweets and lots of comments, and lots of people piling onto the brand. That was completely unnecessary. Completely. You can have a rule about refills. You just have to talk to people in a way that's respectful and that isn't going to cause them to feel the way that David now feels about McDonald's. Here's a gas station near my house. Gas is $2.99. Customer service is priceless. I like this place. This place is already telling me with the sign as I'm driving by that it's going to be a great place to do business with. Big, big difference. All right, this is a very busy restaurant in Chicago where I'm from. It's an Italian restaurant. And it's divided into 2 sections. It's like 2 restaurants within one. And these doors separate the 2 sides. Now, you've seen in restaurants, you've seen the swinging doors, and you've seen waiters going by with trays of food, and you see lots of people. And what I noticed about doors is that whenever doors say push or pull, I always pick the wrong one. Right? You're sitting there, you're like, why is this thing not open? Well, because it says pull, or it says push, right? So these guys decided to do something different. In a very busy walkway with customers and waiters and busboys moving back and forth, instead of doing push and pull, they decided to do something that is possibly the simplest and most elegant solution to this problem that I've ever seen. Now, do you know which door to go through? This is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. It solves an age-old problem of we can't tell the difference between and pull. They're both four-letter words. They both start with P. They're confusing. This is not confusing. And guess what? I sat and watched this very, very busy intersection of this restaurant for most of my meal. Guess how many people ran into the busboy with the big tray? None. It was absolutely smooth as ice. I love this sign. This was downtown Chicago as well. Just 2 words, almost there, turns this sign into a friendly sign instead of a use other entrance sign. Right? 2 words. How long did it take to put a couple more letters up there to just be friendly and human? So, I co-host a podcast called Experience This with my buddy Joey Coleman, who is a customer experience expert. And what we do in this podcast is we share experiences that we've had in our lives, that our friends have had, that we see posted on social, that listeners to the podcast call in and tell us about. And there are all these little snippets. And what I love about it is, as you heard Gene say this morning, and Barbara, is that oftentimes in customer experience, it's the little things that matter. And a lot of little things together added up can make a huge impact on the experience. So I told you that I always have my phone out. I've captured a lot of experiences, most of which have been from my own life, that I think illustrate this point. Now, this was an ad that you may have seen that went viral a few months ago from IKEA. IKEA decided to, this is in the UK, and IKEA decided to offer a special deal, half off on a crib, but only to pregnant women. How did they tell if you were pregnant? They asked you to pee on the ad. And there's actually a strip at the bottom that uses the same technology as in-home pregnancy tests. Now, you may think that's gross. You might be right. But talk about experiential marketing, right? And not only did this get people talking, but this went all over the internet, right? I thought this was an absolutely brilliant campaign. Now, they did say apparently in the fine print that you could come in and not have to pee on it and still get the discount, but never mind that, doesn't matter. Apparently, I think the strip actually exposes the discount code, is what happens if you're pregnant. So I thought this was brilliant. Now, talking about peeing, because we are speaking of peeing, right? I was in the USS Midway in San Diego, which is a large aircraft carrier that has now been turned into a museum. I had to pee, went to the bathroom, and usually I don't have memorable experiences in the bathroom, but here's what I saw. And yeah, I want to tell you, for those that are wondering, that ball moves. Okay? Now, I say to you, if someone can make an experience out of a urinal, can you make an experience in your business? The answer is yes, no matter what business you're in. Here's a company, well-known retailer. I do not like to call out companies that mess things up, if I can. This is a well-known housewares retailer, though, that displayed these plates, and you might notice that they were trying to say it's not because I'm hungry, but they spelled it's with the apostrophe in the wrong place. I''Ts. Ites. This made it all the way onto the shelves and, shockingly enough, all the way onto the internet. Another company in the UK called ASOS did the same thing. They spelled online wrong on their bag. But you know what they did? They turned it into a marketing tweet. And they said, oops, we made a mistake. We had a typo. Let's call it a limited edition. 50,000 people liked that tweet. They took a mistake that most companies would have thrown away the bags, or, like the first housewares company, not even notice the spelling error, and they turned it around and they made an experience out of it. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, let's talk hotel rooms for a second. Stayed at a hotel in Louisville. I've been in this hotel many, many times. Every time I go, I stay in the same hotel. So I noticed one time that they changed the faucets in the sink. I noticed because I've been to the hotel enough times. I was like, new faucets. Didn't think much of it till the next day when I went to iron my shirt. And guess what? The iron doesn't fit underneath the faucet. I cannot fill the iron. Now let's think for a second. If we were the person building the sink in the bathroom, I don't mean to talk so much about bathrooms, honestly, but it just happens. And we were thinking about the possible use cases of a hotel bathroom sink. What would we come up with? Brushing our teeth, washing our hands, maybe you sometimes have to wash an item of clothing, and ironing. It's not like I was trying to make macaroni and cheese in this sink, right? It's not like it was an unpredictable use case. This is pretty predictable. But the problem was, The person who's in charge of the sink and the person who's in charge of the iron, those are two different people. They're in silos. They don't speak with one another. So we get a new sink, and nobody bothers to put themselves in the customer's shoes to say, these very basic use cases for a sink, are our customers going to be able to use it? This should never happen in your business. This is another hotel room. I thought this was awesome. This is a little motion-activated light underneath the nightstand, so that when you get up in the middle of the night and you put your feet on the floor in a very dark room that you are unfamiliar with, it lights the path to the bathroom. Brilliant. Probably $1 to stick that little sucker on there. It was a teeny tiny little light, but a brilliant example, because it said to me that this hotel understood what it was like to be in the customer's shoes, or in this case, perhaps their slippers. They knew what it was like. They understood that it was a dark room. They probably had people crashing into furniture. So it might have been a liability thing, but it was an elegant solution to a customer pain point. This is in Vegas, naturally. The K-Cup in the room for $5. I was like, you have to be kidding me. I have never seen a hotel room that charges for coffee. Bottles of water, okay, I've seen it. Not for a $5 cup of coffee, which was only a K-Cup. You can see the K-Cup with the Keurig machine in the background. Unbelievable. Do you know what I did with this? Wrote a whole blog post about it in Forbes. Okay? You never know who your customer is. You never know what kind of audience they have. But does this, really, with the prices that they charge in Vegas for hotels, do we really need to do this? Is this worth the revenue? I don't know. This is also in Vegas. This is at the Aria Hotel. They have a really nice pastry shop right off the casino. I'm eating a muffin and my coffee, and I go to dump my tray. I go to bust the tray, and I noticed that the hole in the counter was really large. Like, you know, you go to Starbucks and like the hole's basically the size of a cup, right? Like, so you can drop the cup in, but like you can't dump a tray in. And I just, because I'm a customer experience guy, I looked at this and I was like, so interesting. So I decided to try something just because I am who I am. I tried to fit my tray into the garbage. Guess what? The tray did not fit. That garbage can was designed specifically to solve the customer pain point of emptying a tray's worth of stuff into the garbage, and to solve the bakery's pain point of people throwing away their trays by accident. You ever go to a hot dog stand with those red plastic baskets and they say, please don't throw away our baskets, right? That was their problem. This is an elegant solution. Now, does anybody go onto Twitter besides me and share pictures of garbage cans? Probably not. But the underlying idea here is that somebody thought through what their customer was going to go through, and they made it an elegant experience. And again, if you can do that with a garbage can, you can do that anywhere in your customer life cycle. Probably one of the best examples of a shareable experience is Coke, right? I'm glad that they brought this back. They've now added a little thing where you can take that sticker off, and so you literally can share it, right? So if I buy one and it's for Sandy, and Sandy's not my name, but I run into Sandy, I can peel off the sticker and share it with Sandy. Brilliant. And if you look on Twitter at how many people share these dang things, and Facebook, it's unbelievable. Coke marketing everywhere for free, right? And all they did was personalize. Okay, so now we know what gets shared. We're trying to create memorable experiences, remarkable experiences. Think about what the word remarkable means. Worthy of being commented on, right? And people comment today on social. That's where they bring their commentary. So we're trying to create that. Now, what happens as a company when people come to social media? Now, this is what I wrote my book about, because as a 20-year marketer, what fascinated me about social media was that it was the first marketing channel where people could talk back. Every other marketing channel, the brand has a big megaphone, and they get to talk to us, and we as customers have to listen. Maybe we can change the channel, maybe we can hit mute, but basically, we have to listen. All of a sudden, this channel comes out, and we can talk back. And guess what? Customers sure as heck talk back. So what do we do when they come to social and they're talking about our brand? Anybody know this guy? Anybody? Any This Is Us fans in the room? Okay. I won't ruin it for you if you're not, but great episode of This Is Us. A huge storyline that people have been waiting on all year to hear the resolution of, and it all comes down to a crock pot. And let's just say the crock pot is the antagonist in this scene. People take to social media like crazy. By the way, Crockpot doesn't even have a Twitter account. So they are not ready for this. We get stuff like, thanks, this is us for crushing my soul week after week. Additionally, I'll no longer be making my crockpot chili after last night's episode. Crockpot, to their credit, immediately gets a team together, creates a Twitter handle, thank goodness, and responds. We're heartbroken over last night's episode 2, Kayla, personalization. We're innocent until proven guilty. Since the 70s, we've been providing families with quality and safe products. My favorite part, ask your parents if you don't believe us. Love that. DM us with any questions, and we'd be happy to tell you more about our safety standards. Can anybody guess what happens next? How long do you think Kayla stays mad at Crockpot after this? I apologize for what I said when I was in an emotional state. I could never live without my beloved Crockpot. Hashtag Crockpot is innocent. Kudos to Crockpot, huh? Like, that's awesome. That just turned an angry customer into a raving fan in a very short period of time. One of my favorite examples of this also comes from a former employer of mine, Discover. Now, Rob tweets at Discover and says, I haven't checked my mail in a few weeks, and there are 3 offers for the Discover It card: persistence or lack of coordination. Now, we taught our agents there to try, when reasonable, to mimic the tone of the customer. And this guy was a little bit snarky, so Amy does an amazing job of being the tiniest bit snarky back without being rude and says, we must really be excited to have you as a customer. She then goes to solve his problem, which is DM us with your name and address, we'll take you off the list. Rob writes back, kudos for the prompt response time. Okay, I'll bite, mostly because of your response, Amy. Great service, hashtag. And this happens in 13 minutes flat. Rob goes from an angry prospect to Discover's newest customer. Now, I will admit, I've been showing this on screens for probably 5 years. It's also in my book. It's one of my favorite examples. About 8 months ago, it occurred to me that I never actually found out the end of the story. So I went on my own account and I tweeted to Rob. I actually went back to this tweet and I responded to it as Dan Gingiss. And I said, Rob, I have to ask you, did you ever get that Discover card? And he wrote me back in less than 5 minutes and he said, still a happy customer. Amazing. 13 minutes, angry prospect to newest customer that lasts 5 years and counting. This is the power of social media. When people come to social media, even the complainers, they're coming because they want a relationship with your brand. Give them the relationship, and they will be incredibly loyal to you. This guy, Bobby, has the gall to tweet at Elon Musk on a Friday night, and in less than an hour, the man himself responds back. Do you think this guy's going to be a Tesla customer for life or what? I mean, if Elon Musk can do this, you again have to say, why can't I? Why can't my company be doing this if Elon himself is responding to customers? Amazing. Now, we don't all have CEOs like Elon Musk, admittedly. But we do have people, especially people that come to a conference like this, who understand the importance of what Elon Musk understands, which is having a relationship with your customer. All right. To close out, I'm going to give you 7 things that I want you to start doing tomorrow, or if you are still at this conference, I'll give you till Friday to start working on it. But these are 7 things that you can take back to your company to start doing immediately. The first is, be available to your customers. People always ask me, what social media channel should I be on? The answer is, where are your customers? Right? Now, most companies, their customers are on Twitter and Facebook. Facebook and Twitter in the US, Twitter and Facebook everywhere else. And they're complaining on those 2 channels as well. But if you are a company whose customers are on LinkedIn, then that's the channel you should be on. If they're on Pinterest, then that's the channel you should be on. Now, the other question I get is, do I have to respond to people 24 hours? 24/7. Well, it depends on your company. If you're an international airline that flies 24 hours of the day, you better believe you got to be on there 24 hours. If you're a local jeweler who's got 1 store in Dubuque, Iowa, no, you don't have to be on there 24 hours. But what you do have to do is tell your customers when you're going to be available to them so that you manage their expectations. If we go back to the slide with the smiley faces, if my expectation is that you're open and you're not open, now I'm sad. But if I know that you're available from a certain time to a certain time, and I know I'm outside of that time, I understand that, because I know that you're a small jeweler in Dubuque, Iowa, and that you're not United Airlines or American or Delta. Number 2, and this is really, really important, do not be afraid of complaints. Most companies don't even enter social media because they're afraid of the complaints. The thing is, those complaints are happening with or without you. So you might as well be a part of that conversation, because then you have a chance, like Crockpot did and like Discover did, to change the conversation and to turn a complaint into a happy customer. Also, people who are complaining, and I mean legitimate complainers. I don't mean trolls that are just swearing at people or out to annoy. I mean like having a legitimate complaint. Legitimate complainers want you to fix the problem. They want to stay and do business with you. They care. That's why they're telling you. If they didn't care, what would they do? They'd just go to your competitor. The guy that was pissed at McDonald's, he could have just gone to Wendy's. But the fact that he was pissed at McDonald's, even though he swore that he wasn't coming back, probably means he's coming back. And probably means he cares enough about that brand that he wants them to know and he wants them to fix it. So don't be afraid of complaints. Let them help you make your business better. The other thing about complaints is when you see the same complaint over and over again, just like in a call center, what should you do? Yeah, it's good to respond to the individual people, but fix whatever the darn problem is that's causing all those complaints. And all of a sudden your customer service costs go down, because hundreds if not thousands of people will stop complaining about the same thing. So use complaints to your advantage to improve your experience. Number 3, listen to your customers. Really listen to them. They're going to tell you more about your brand than you probably know. They're going to use your products in ways that you never dreamed of. And they're going to give you great ideas about what's working and what's not in your experience and what they want from you. If you just take the time to listen, it is amazing what you can learn from customers. Now, we do that, right? We do surveys and we do customer satisfaction stuff, but we're looking at numbers on spreadsheets. We're not really listening. We're looking at scores and we're trying to hit certain numbers. It's like Gene said with the, give me a 10 on the survey. That's not listening. That's grading. But when you listen to your customers, the actual qualitative listening piece, you can learn so much about what's working, what's not in your business. Respond to everyone. I'm going to repeat that one. Respond to everyone except the trolls. Respond to everyone. When people are happy and are saying nice things about you, the least you can do is say thank you. When I say something nice about a brand and they get back to me and say, thanks, Dan, we love you too, how good does that make me feel? That a big brand knows Dan's a customer and is thankful for me. That feels great. The people that take time out of their day to compliment your brand. By the way, anybody that works in a call center, how many people have ever picked up the phone and had a customer call, I just want to call and say you're doing a great job? It doesn't happen. But in social, it does. Because when people have great experiences, they want to share great experiences. You got to jump onto that. And you got to say, we're so glad you had a great experience. We're so happy that you're a customer. I'm taking the red eye home tonight on American. I'm not really happy about taking the red eye. But I happened to put in for one of those, you got to pay for them, like a 500-mile upgrade thing. And I got it. I haven't gotten an upgrade in forever. And I got it. And I was so happy because it's a red eye. So I tweeted it. American Airlines. Not 5 minutes later, they wrote me back and saying, that's just our way of giving you a virtual hug, Dan. Have a great flight. Awesome. How much do I love that brand right now? Not only for the upgrade, but for the fact that they engaged with me when I was positive to them. If customers are meh, usually they're asking you a question or they're looking for some clarification. Again, if you ignore them, they're probably going to go to your competitor and find that information. So if they're asking you a question, answer. And when they complain, just like you would do on the phone, show empathy. Engage with them. Try to solve the problem. Don't worry that it's out in public, that it's in social media. What people want is a resolution. And they certainly don't want to be ignored. And if somebody's angry and they're ignored, you make them angrier. It's just like when we call an 800 number and we get put on hold for an hour. We get more angry, not less angry. Fix what's wrong with the experience. This is what I referred to before, which is your customers are going to tell you things that are wrong. And you should empathize and say you're sorry and try to help that customer, and maybe you give them a coupon or a discount or something. But if you don't go back to the rest of the business, and because it's not going to be your job, likely in a call center, to fix it, right? But you're going to have to find the person whose job it is and say, look, we're hearing all these complaints. This isn't working. The mobile app, when you hit this button and do this, it crashes. We got to fix this because we're tired of taking phone calls and we're tired of seeing tweets about it. So fix what's wrong with the experience. I already said listen to your customers. That's a wrong headline. Sorry about that. There's 3 companies that I want to quickly point out that are doing such a great job listening to their customers. They're actually building products based on what they hear. OtterBox, which, as you probably know, is a cell phone case company, high-end, heard on social media that their customers were taking their phones into the shower to listen to music. Again, I'm back in the bathroom, and I don't mean to be, but I just report the news here. This was before phones were becoming waterproof. So they developed their first ever waterproof case, which became one of their best sellers. How did they figure this out? They just listened on Twitter, and they heard people, and they heard how people were using their product. ModCloth, which is a women's online clothing company, for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure how they did this, figured out that their female customers had a thing for Jeff Goldblum of like Jurassic Park fame. So they created a shirt with all these images of Jeff Goldblum. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's the same thing I'm thinking. Who on God's green earth would ever wear this shirt? It is one of their best-selling products because they figured out that there was some connection between Jeff Goldblum and their customer base. If the Gap sells this shirt, it probably ends up on the clearance rack. But for ModCloth, it works really well. And Vega, which is a vegan protein powder company, and they target vegan athletes. So talk about a niche audience. They have a little bit of a problem. The problem is people either love the taste of their powder or cannot stand it. And the problem is these customers don't have a whole lot of alternatives being vegan athletes. So what did they do? They created an entire series of smoothie recipes that were meant specifically to cover up the taste of their own product. And what did they get? Lots of people who hate the taste of their product who buy it all the time. Incredible. Right? Incredible. Most people would have said, you don't like the taste? Tough. Go find another one. These guys turned it around and kept customers that don't like the taste of their products, all because they listened. And finally, I'm a marketer who became a customer service guy. Marketing and customer service, especially today, have got to be one team. Especially in social media. If your social care team does not know what your marketing team is doing, they're going to get inundated with tweets and posts and comments and not even know what's coming. It's like if you're in the call center and all of a sudden something hits the fan and your calls go from this to this out of nowhere and you're not ready because you don't have enough humans. The same thing happens in social. But if we know that your marketing team's going out and spending a lot of money on paid media, then we can be ready for it. And the thing about social, if you go back to what I said before about it being the first channel where people can talk back, when you're scrolling through your Facebook and you see an ad, one of the things that clicks in your mind is whatever the last experience you had with that company. Now, as marketers, we say, we're going to put this really cool ad and people are going to want to talk about it. We're going to hire community managers and we're all going to be talking about how great our company is. But in reality, what happens is that a lot of people say, dang it, I meant to call that company because XYZ happened and I forgot I'm angry at them. So what do? They comment right underneath your marketing ad, exactly where you didn't want them to be talking about their problem. And people do that in droves when you put paid media behind it, because now you're putting an ad in front of them that they didn't ask for. And if your service people aren't ready for that, it's an absolute disaster. Likewise, backwards is your service people should be telling your marketing people what's working, what's not. There was a time at Discover where there was one particular ad on TV that people were having an issue with. They didn't like the characters. And we kept hearing it and hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. We went back to the marketing team. Marketing team pulled the ad. So you have a two-way street. And that communication is absolutely critical to making sure that the customer experience, which often starts with a piece of marketing, that's usually the first thing, remains seamless all the way through. I want to thank you very much for your time. I think we have time for questions, although I don't see a timer here. My book is going to be available at the book signing at 3:45. It's free. I'm happy to sign it for you, and I would love to meet you. So thank you very much.